In your business, when you start with B2B clients, what's triggered the decision to get into podcasting? I suspect that it's marketers leading the charge. How have they been able to convince their bosses that a podcast makes sense? What is it that finally gets senior management to say, okay, I'll let you do a podcast?
First of all, I think it makes a big difference to really have like a champion at the company. And that might mean the VP of marketing, which is that's who I'm usually talking to. And they might have done a podcast at a previous company, or they're just a big fan of podcasting and are really behind it. It also helps if their boss or the CEO also is into podcasting. And it's just a little easier to convince them to take the leap and give it a shot. The timing has to be right. So almost always with new clients, podcasting has been something they've been thinking about for quite a while. Often maybe they've tried it before without much success, or they just don't know where to get started, but they have budget and they're looking to diversify their channels. And they probably have some competitors in their space that have a podcast, and they listen to their podcast. That's often one of the big triggers where there's already a couple of podcasts in their space. So there's an example of what it could do and what it could look like. And they check it out and they're like, wow, they're having some really cool conversations on their show. The content they're creating is really different. It's free flowing. It's more spontaneous. It's real people just kind of chopping it up. I think if you ask any B2B marketer, what are you looking for in good content? They're going to say, well, it needs to be authentic. It needs to stand out. It needs to be different than what's already out there. It needs to have some expertise, whether that's data baked in or subject matter experts. I think podcasting really checks off all those boxes if you're doing it in the right way. Like I said this before, but that's what I like about it. Like the conversation we're having right now, it's not scripted. It wasn't really planned out. We met before to talk basically about what we're going to talk about, but we're kind of just riffing right now. And it's hard to capture that in like written content when you're writing a blog post, or even in a webinar. I think it's a little different. It's a little more planned out. It's a little more like, I'm going to lecture you and teach you this whole thing that I've prepared for the last month. There's just a kind of spontaneity to it that is sort of undeniable. And so I think it's really attractive content when you see it or hear it and you're like, yeah, we should be doing that. We want that high level content too. So I think that's one of the triggers.